What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we are at a point where JayZ has gotten a huge win in this case. I do believe that I am certain that based on this testimony from this attorney that we're about to hear on the Law and Crime Network, that this case will absolutely be thrown out and that it will not proceed any further, whether it be civilly or criminally. Okay, but before we get started, if you would please subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, this channel is monetized, so if you feel so led, I work really hard on it. If you would like to hit this button right here, the one that's circled that says a cash thanks, you can toss your boy a couple of bones for the time that I spend and the effort that I put into this channel. It's not my only stream of income. I'm not desperately begging for money, but if you feel led to do so, I would appreciate it. All right, moving on. So first, what we're going to do is watch a clip, a few clips actually, from the Law and Crime Network talking about some updates in this case, specifically with JayZ and his team's ability to be able to file a motion for complete dismissal. Okay, prior to this, they have not had that option. It is now available to them, and this Law and Crime Network's video explains all of this, and I think that it will explain it all and then wrap it all in a neat little bow for you, and I think we will all come to the same consensus that, yeah, this isn't going to trial. This isn't going anywhere. This was a complete fabrication and an attempt at extortion, to say the least. Now, am I saying that JayZ is a perfect person? I'm sure he's not. I'm sure I'm not. I'm sure you're not. I'm sure nobody is. But with that said, I don't think there is going to be enough evidence to, to find him liable civilly or certainly not criminally in this particular case. So without further ado, let's get started and check out the first clip.
It's a win for JayZ's team in the legal battle against Jane Doe. That's the woman who says JayZ raped her when she was only 13. JayZ's team is now one step closer to having that suit completely thrown out. As a judge rules, he can file an official request for dismissal. Jane Doe filed this lawsuit back in October, but JayZ's name wasn't attached to it until an amendment just last month. Since then, his team has been pretty vocal, both denying the allegations and then bombarding the court with motions. Now, I've got a lot of questions about JayZ's strategy and what's up his defense attorney's sleeve. And for that, we got to bring in law and crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman. So, Julie, right from the jump, is this a win for JayZ that he's now allowed to file this motion to dismiss?
It is certainly a win compared to the loss they experienced in late 2024 when the judge ruled that the victim could remain anonymous. This gives them the opportunity to now move to dismiss the case, and they seem to have a decent argument that it'll be interesting to see what the strategy is on the part of the complainant's attorneys.
Listen, there was about 10 minutes of video there that I completely cut out because it gave the whole backstory of how all of this came to be, how first P. Diddy was named in the allegation. Then later, JayZ was added as a celebrity A, and celebrity B has yet still to be named. We have heard this story ad nauseum, so I didn't want to continue to drill that down your throat. I more so wanted to focus on this new opportunity that JayZ's team has that they didn't have last year at the end of 2024. Now they have an ability to file a motion to dismiss the whole charge. Back at the end of 2024, they tried to do this and the judge would not allow it. He said no. He said the victim can remain anonymous and you're not able to dismiss it until we look further into this. NBC did this whole interview with this complainant of P. Diddy and JayZ, and they found all kinds of notable inconsistencies in her story. The most notable one being that her own father didn't remember driving 5.5 hours from Rochester, New York into the city to pick up his then 13-year-old daughter after this supposedly happened to her, right? Inconsistencies like that is what has moved this case over into a space where I now think that the judge is okay with them filing for dismissal. Here's a quick look at the law that JayZ's team was arguing was not in existence at the time that this supposedly took place back in September of the year 2000. And now they have the ability to file a motion to dismiss based on this law not being retroactive. So the legal analyst can explain it much better than I will. So take a listen.
The filing we're talking about right now in regards to the motion to dismiss is on a different theory. What they're basically saying is that the law that allowed Buzbee, who is Jane Doe's attorney, to file this complaint, that law did not exist back in September of 2000 when these alleged incidents occurred. And therefore, the argument is if the law didn't exist, then you don't get the protections of that law. And therefore, the case should be dismissed because the law was not retroactive to September of 2000. All of the inconsistencies that the complaint had shown in terms of inconsistencies with her own father, inconsistencies in regards to potential witnesses. And so now they're at the next part of their strategy, which is to ask permission from the judge to file a motion to dismiss.
I want to talk about those inconsistencies because you're right. That's something that JayZ's team brought up, and it was pretty startling, at least to me. They pointed out the differences in Jane Doe's interview and then the filing that she originally had. There were some things that didn't add up. Some people she said were in New York. They weren't even in this New York. They were in the Midwest, all of these things. So does that make for a strong argument for JayZ's team to have this completely thrown out?
So remember, the basis for the moving for dismissal at this point is separate and apart from the inconsistencies. The inconsistencies that we're talking about are more what comes out at trial, in terms of the cross-examination of the witness and the viability that the complainant would be successful in winning a case against JayZ.
I'm glad you brought that up. In order to use this law in any sort of civil suit, the incident would have to take place in New York City. And JayZ's team says this alleged incident happened in this big white house, nowhere in New York. It wouldn't have made sense. So those two things combined, do you think they make for a strong case for JayZ to have this completely thrown out?
So yes, Sierra, and you added a great point because you're talking about the fact that she describes a home, and they were pretty thorough, JayZ's team, to say that there is no home that exists in New York in the area that she describes that would fit the description. So yes, that is another factor that they're going to bring up when they move for their motion to dismiss.
Really, all of these inconsistencies being mentioned here is the catalyst for why the judge is now allowing JayZ's team to file this motion for complete dismissal of the case altogether.
For Jane Doe's side of things, do you think it's possible that the judge disagrees with JayZ and upholds this lawsuit and says it can move forward? Or do you think Jane Doe has a long road ahead?
I just don't know. It seems that the JayZ's team seems to be focused on the right issues, which is if that law came into existence after the September 2000 incident, then it arguably doesn't apply as long as there's been no other case law that established that it was in fact retroactive.
So if you remember, one of the real issues up front early on in this process is that JayZ's team was accusing Tony Buzbee, the attorney that is filing all of these lawsuits against P. Diddy, accusing him of literally setting up a 1-800 number. Basically saying, if you've ever been victimized by P. Diddy, call this number. Within the first week, they get over 100, 200 calls of people looking to file civil suits now, which the end game is only monetary. People trying to extort or make some sort of complaint, one of the two, about P. Diddy. There was a lot of talk about them not vetting these claims of the Jane Doe complainant. She files this initial suit. Tony Buzbee goes ahead and goes completely public with it, dragging JayZ and his family's name through the mud in the process. And then they find out later on when she does this off-the-cuff interview with NBC that so many of the details that were in her original complaint didn't even align with what she told NBC when they showed up at her home to interview her, right? So they looked at Tony Buzbee, then the attorney of Jane Doe, and said, You think you jumped the gun a little here? You know, and so that's what this next clip is talking about here.
And one of the concerns I think a lot of people have with regards to this case and regarding this civil attorney being Buzbee is that it almost seems like he didn't know. He didn't fully investigate the complainant. And I think you have to be really wary when you're coming forward with these cases that you dot your I's and cross your T's.
Do you think Jane Doe in this specific case, she could be involved, that she could testify, or should we probably see the other Jane Does or Kathy Ventura?
So I don't expect, and this is just a guess, that you're going to see this specific Jane Doe testifying or quite frankly, anywhere near the federal prosecution of P. Diddy. You have to keep in mind the feds want an airtight case. They want the evidence that's corroborated. And the last thing they want is to bring in a potential complainant that is not going to hold up in cross-examination. Because remember, if one complainant falls, a jury can start to say, well, does this impact and infest kind of what we feel about all the other evidence in the case? So my guess is you will not see anything regarding this complainant in P. Diddy's federal criminal trial.
So I do believe they will get the dismissal here, and the Law and Crime Network's legal analyst seems to believe that they will get the dismissal as well. So that's what you're going to hear right now. Check it out.
So I have to ask for my last question here. JayZ, do you think that he has a strong enough case that the judge is going to rule with him, that it's actually going to be completely thrown out?
My guess is that even if the judge does not throw it out based on the motions that are going to be coming up, I think in February, I think this case is going to fall apart. I don't think we're ever going to see a trial because I don't believe, based on what we know so far, that the complainant is going to be able to hold up, whether it be for depositions or the like. I think it'll eventually be dropped.
So there you go, guys. I mean, I don't pretend to know how this is going to play out and what the end game will be. But I just know that when this first happened, there was a lot of people throwing hate towards JayZ for this, that, and the third. I'm not saying he did or did not do any of these things he's being accused of. I'm not saying JayZ is a great person or a bad person. I'm purely objectively speaking on the subject. I don't know JayZ personally whatsoever. But once I heard this interview that this complainant did with NBC, I knew pretty much right out of the gate, this isn't going to go well for her. And that's what we're seeing now. The fact that the judge is allowing JayZ to file for this motion of dismissal is a strong indicator that there are some notable indiscrepancies and inconsistencies in this particular case, that the judge isn't really feeling very confident about the prosecution being able to really prosecute in this case. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, if you would, please do subscribe to the channel. I would absolutely appreciate it. Like the video, comment down below, let me know what you guys think about it, and I will definitely see you on the next one. All right, guys, take care. Thanks.